2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Press Box Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024. Happy New Year. Welcome to Philly Press Box Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly, Tailgates, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And Chet, the Eagles. Wow. The Eagles had a meltdown Sunday at the Link, losing to a bad Cardinals team, and pushed their way out of the NFC East title. The fraud that is Joel Embiid is back miraculously now that the holiday road trip is over. I can't wait to get our guest take on that. The Flyers got 4 out of 10 possible points across a long holiday road trip out to Western Canada. The college football playoffs games didn't disappoint, but the rest of the bowls, there's a big problem. As always, plenty to talk about in Philly sports.
Well, Bill, first of all, Happy New Year. Second of all, you're a dope for that fraud talk about a guy who suffered a sprained ankle. And thirdly, the Eagles are more of a fraud than even that guy that we just mentioned. And that's not even debatable.
See, it's people like you and your love fest is why guys like Howard Eskin calls Philly people idiots. There you go. Hey, we got a great guest tonight that's making a return visit to Philly Press Box Radio, and KEITH POMPEY, who covers the Sixers, to talk about that and maybe some Eagles-Giants football.
I would be shocked if you didn't bring that up at some point during our discussion, Bill. So let's get to it. To quote Tone Loc, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's welcome KEITH POMPEY back to Philly Press Box Radio. KEITH, welcome.
Hey, what's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Fantastic.
Hey, KEITH. You've been forewarned. My partner will very likely want to squeeze in a little football talk with you, but and we have something else to talk about too regarding you. We will get to that too. Let's talk a little basketball first of all. Nice, easy win Tuesday night for the 76ers. They crushed the Bulls with the MVP returning and notching yet another 30-point, 10-rebound game, 31-15 to be exact, plus 10 assists. The Sixers are now 23-10. Are you surprised at how well they've played, given the offseason drama with Harden, a new coach, and some new faces in the lineup?
Yes and no. The biggest surprise would be how Maxey has evolved. Like I know that he's a good guard, he always was, but he took a major step forward, right? You look at Joel Embiid and you know that he was going to be motivated to play, but the way that they have these new guys who came in who were supposed to be assets at best, and how like Nick Batum, Marcus Morris, and Robert Covington has really filled in, I have to admit, yeah, I am surprised that they are playing to the level that they are. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's surprising. But let's face it, they did have one of the easiest schedules thus far. But at the same time, they are handling their business, and they only had one bad loss or 2 bad losses, and that was to the Chicago Bulls, a team that they just defeated.
Yep.
Well, KEITH, let's get to the elephant in the room. Chet's got a man crush on that Joel Embiid that he just can't get over. Me, on the other hand, I got a problem. And here's my problem. It has nothing to do with the player. The player is tremendous. The leader is where I have a problem. The fact that he, who hates to go on the road for Christmas and New Year's? Everybody, right? Nobody wants to go. He's hurt. He stays home. He sits on the sofa for a week misses 4 games on a road trip. I have a real problem with that from a leadership standpoint. Not the player, the leader.
Yeah, you know what? It's one of those things where, depending on who you talk to, some people will say, look, we felt that it was best for him to stay behind because we have our medical stuff here. He can get the treatment and also with a sprained ankle and all that, you don't want a guy that size to be flying around and stuff like that. But also you can also have the people on the opposite to say, well, Nick Batum was with the team the whole time. Now, Nick Batum, you knew that he was going to come back. In my opinion, I think Joel was never going to play. Like once he sprained that ankle, it was one of those things where he just wasn't going to play. Now, if they needed him to, he would. But you can look at it and say, like, if you're a veteran leader of this team, you should be there with your teammates, right? So you go back and forth. But I believe that he wasn't going to play. I believe that they ruled him out and that he wasn't going to play. And that's the reason why he wasn't there.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's more important for him to get healthy, and I think staying behind was the proper way to do it. And he responded by coming back, in the Tuesday night game. And look at what he's done this season. His stats are better this year even than last year. Points per game up, blocks up, assists per game at a career high 6.2 now, rebounds up from last year. Free throw percentage, always good. That's up from last year. So, and he's doing it in, a half minute or so less per game this year. So I think there's no reason to fault what he's doing this year. I don't buy the leadership thing. It's better for him to get healthy for, a couple of weeks here in December, early January, and point toward the spring. Because as we've said on the show many times, people aren't going to care what happens now or in January or February. It's all about what happens in May. Let's make sure the guy's healthy come playoff time.
And let's be sure we have a team that wants to do it, though.
Yeah, true. I mean, true. But the thing is, you are correct. I mean, here's the thing. The thing is, like you said, none of this matters. I remember, I want to say it was December the 18th. And you guys know I'm always on Facebook, right? So I'm on Facebook. Yeah. and I went and I was about to troll. I wanted to troll the Eagles fans. So I go to what I had a year ago. And I actually wrote an article on December the 18th of last year about how the Sixers were rolling and how like they were beating up on these bad teams and we're going to finally figure out how good they were. And I'm like, wow, the Sixers are rolling this year. They're beating up on bad teams. And I thought we were going to finally figure out how good they were. So, Chet is a little bit right that, and both of you guys are like, none of this matters until if he can win as many games as he want. He can score 37 points this season, average that. But if Joel Embiid doesn't get out of the second round, then all those people singing his praise and saying how great he is are going to say, hey, we got to trade him. Get him out of here. He can't win. So, none of this matters right now. Yeah. But you're right. He has to get healthy, and he has to be 100% healthy for the playoffs.
Yeah, and Chet likes to throw them stats up there, but that's not the argument. I don't think, the argument's not whether the guy can play. He's tremendous. But I like to bring up the other side of it. When we got to the NBA Finals last year, not the Sixers, and Joker basically strapped that whole entire team on his back with being the leader that he is and won a championship. That's what I want to see from Embiid, and I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a vital year for Joel Embiid. I mean, it really is. I think that, you can look at it and Joel is going to say, no, I'm just doing this. But I think that in this, I could be wrong and he's going to get upset or whatever. But I think that when Joker played the way he did last year and Joel won MVP, Joel came out and he's out here to prove to people that he can do more than just score, right? He's being real impactful, forceful. We don't see him shooting as many threes. We also see him being a better ball handler or distributor of the ball. Now, my thing is, I just hope that he's not just doing this to prove these naysayers wrong and that he's doing this to help his team win. Because I get it. It's great to say that you're a two-time champion. Two-time MVP. But at the end of the day, in order for you, in my opinion, to be on the Joker's level, you have to win an NBA championship. The same.
I think we can all agree on that, Keith. That is definitely something we can finally agree on. Hey, what do you think of the job Nick Nurse has done? I think he's doing a real good job given what he had to deal with in the offseason and then putting all these new faces together.
Oh, I think he's doing a phenomenal job. And here's the thing, y'all. Like, I remember a couple years ago when they were playing the Sixers in the second round, um, and I walked up to Nick Nurse and said, "Look, man, you don't know me from Adam, but I've been a big fan of your coaching for a while. You're a heck of a coach." And I didn't say heck, right? But I said, "You're a heck of a coach, and I'm a huge fan." And you look at it and you see what he's able to do with this group and getting the best out of players, right? So he's doing a phenomenal job. I mean, you got to give him an A+ thus far.
Hey Keith, it seems like to win in the NBA, almost everybody has that three-legged monster. The Sixers have a two-legged monster at this point. Do they have that third guy? Can Tobias be that guy, or somebody that's presently on the roster? Can they step up and be that third leg?
You know what I think is up to Tobias. I mean, and what I mean by that is, the last couple games, Tobias has been extremely aggressive, right? And he has played well. But honestly, I do think that, sometimes when you have that three-headed monster, that doesn't always equate to championships. I think that if you have the two-headed monster, but if you have a lot of other guys stepping up and fulfilling their roles, I think they'll be fine. Like, when the Chicago Bulls had Jordan and Pippen, we never said who was the third star. When the Lakers had Shaq and Kobe, we never said who was the third star. What they had was role players stepping up. And I feel like as long as like Kelly Oubre can continue to play the way he is, Nick Batum can shoot the way he can, Marcus Morris does stuff for you. I think that's how the Sixers are going to beat teams as long as they keep this core. The one thing about a third-headed monster, in my opinion, is if you bring in like a guy like a ball hog, right? What's going to happen with Maxey? Are we going to have a power struggle to see who's going to be the second leading star? I feel like that's something that the Sixers have to be very leery of, because let's face it, this isn't like the old NBA where everybody wants to win championships. Some dudes want to get points so they can get paid, and the Sixers are in the championship winning mode.
Hey, Keith, you mentioned Tobias Harris. What is his future now? Might he be a trade deadline option? Is there a chance he's back next season? What do you think is going to happen with him?
I don't think he's coming back next season. I don't. I think that Tobias is a guy that's going to probably win a lot of money, in free agency. I don't know if the Sixers are willing to give him what he wants, right? Let's face it, he's making $40 million a year. I don't think they're going to pay him that. Now, in regards to like being a trade chip, yeah, he could possibly be there. But the thing is, you got to ask yourself, is this guy really going to help me out more so than a Tobias Harris is, right? There's a guy, Bogdanovic. I just butchered my man's name from Detroit. But the thing is, it's kind of sort of like, but Detroit is going to want a lot for him because they know people want him. So how much are the Sixers going to willing to give up? He could help them, but aside from that, I don't really know if you can go out there and get a guy that's going to give you the things that Tobias gives you.
Hey, Keith, we're about a third of the way of the season in, long way to go yet. How do you see this playing out in the Eastern Conference? Can the Sixers beat the teams in front of them? And is it important for them to, or just to get to the playoffs?
I mean, it's weird. Like, when I look at it right now, it's hard for me to say. In the beginning of the season, I always felt like, nah, they don't have a chance. Like, I think that they could possibly beat Milwaukee if everything goes right for them. Mm-hmm. I look at Boston, and I think that Boston is the best team in the East. I think Boston is a little bit, how should I say, like maybe bored a little bit. You know what I mean? They're so good, so they're going to slip up. But I feel like once the playoffs come, they're a bad matchup for the Sixers right now, right? I just do. But again, we don't know because this team is so new. We don't know like what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a wait and see right now.
Well, Keith, it's going to be interesting. We'll say that. And speaking of interesting, I don't know if you know this. Well, of course you know this. You are trending today on Twitter and Facebook and everything. A lot of people talking about you because, as Bill pointed out to me before I got to see it, you're going to get a nice little award. And there it is. Pompey on Sixers. That's you. Philadelphia Sports Writers Association will be honoring you with the Award of Excellence, the Stan Hochman Award for Journalism Excellence. How cool is that?
Oh man, that's a huge honor because as a kid growing up in Philly, I always knew who Stan Hochman was, and I was used to read him and had the utmost respect for him. And to win that award, it really means a lot to me because it's coming from your peers, it's coming from people in Philly. You know what I mean? And I feel like you can trick people from different, like when you win a national award, you can trick them. But I think, you guys and everybody you guys know who work hard and who doesn't. And for me to get that award, it means that everybody recognizes what I do. So it means the world to me. It really does.
Well, okay. Congratulations. I don't know that they give out a bigger award than that, do they? Isn't that pretty much the top of the line?
For media members, that's
for media members. Yeah, I was actually shocked. Who, me? Like they walked up to me like the guy, like they were Jack McCafferty. So he saw me one day and said, "Hey, what are you doing on the 17th?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. Like that's a long ways away." Right? Just joking. But then he's like, "Well, we have a banquet and we want, we want to honor you." I'm like, "Stop joking." And he says, "No, I'm serious." I said, "Well, guess what? I'm gonna be on that banquet on the 17th."
Well, Keith, you've been on the show 13 times. That means I'm finally gonna get to meet you in person because I'll be at the banquet. I go pretty much every year.
Oh, great! Yeah, that's gonna be fine. Yeah, I'm gonna bring my Giants jersey.
Speaking of which,
hey Keith, I didn't want to get off the serious part of this because it is serious, and congratulations very much. But don't your football teams, the Giants and Pitt Panthers, have to win like maybe a quarter of their games for you to get this award?
You know,
they don't know he's a Giants fan. Don't tell them.
Well, if that was the case, I wouldn't get one. But the funny part is I laugh at people because both of my teams are sorry, but it makes it fun because then I don't have any stress. You know what I mean? So it's like there's no stress. Like what's going on? Like are they going to win or they lose? I expect them to lose, and when they win, I'm so happy and want to make fun of everybody else's team.
Well, yeah, speaking of which, I know it is all in fun, but as I post this little picture on the screen, I think you're kind of relishing this whole Eagles demise, the sinking ship, as I'm showing you here. So you're enjoying this a little too much, Keith.
Yeah, it's funny, though, because to be honest with you guys, I shouldn't say I like the Eagles. I watch the Eagles, but it's just, to me, I just like having fun. You know what I mean? Like, you guys know, like, if they lose or whatever, I'm just going to talk trash, right?
Oh yeah, all week.
But the thing is, to be honest with you, I don't like what I see right now. And what I mean by that is I don't like the bickering. I don't like the players, attacking the media or not wanting to talk to the media. I feel like, whatever they have, they got to get this resolved because it's just a bad look, right? It's a bad look. Now, I do expect them to lose this weekend, right? I do.
And they were playing who?
Play people, but
yeah,
but I
the
expect
New
them
York
to
Football
lose.
Giants. I wouldn't be shocked, frankly.
I mean, we do have a pretty good. Talking about the Giants, they do have a pretty good Penn State running back, and I know you guys love Penn State, so you have to root for the Nittany Lion, right? You have to. You have to.
Hey, Keith, speaking of the Giants on a serious note, they're going to pick somewhere around 10, something wherever they end up pretty close to 10. There might be a couple quarterbacks around at that time, and they got a long-term deal with the quarterback they have. What's going to happen with the Giants?
What happens?
We might trade them to the Eagles for backup. It's like, I don't know. Like, yeah, that's a bad. That was really mind-boggling to me. When they gave him the money they did over the running back. And I get it, the running back, you devalue him now. But I think the Giants have major problems. I mean, and I think it starts from the top. Because when you look at it, not only did they pay the quarterback, they paid the offensive lineman who couldn't block anyone for the last 3 years, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a bad situation. But, I'm really, just like everyone else, I'm wondering what they're going to do because I don't think that Daniel Jones is the answer for him, right? I don't think he ever was, but I feel like the quarterback situation is so bad in the NFL that if you think you have a halfway decent one, that you have to pay them. But yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad.
But while we're talking football, what do you think it's going to be in the Super Bowl? Is it going to be the Ravens and the Niners, or somebody else going to sneak in there?
Wow, you know what? I do think it's going to be the Ravens. But I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to sneak in. No, only playing. Only playing.
Please.
I'll probably go chalk on that one. But it's hard because you don't know. It's weird. I do think the Niners are a good team, but I also think the Niners are one of those teams that if they're extremely motivated by who they're playing, if they lost to them in the past, they're going to come. But it's not like they haven't slipped up before, right? I think that, you look at the state of the Eagles. The Eagles do have talent, but they're they're regressing, so to speak. I'm not a believer in Detroit, right? But outside of those teams that we're just talking about, I don't know if anybody else can beat them. And Dallas can't win on the road. So with that being said, I think that the 49ers will get there by default. But if I'm going to be real with you guys, I always felt like it would come down between the 49ers and the Eagles, but I just don't like what I see from the Eagles right now.
Yeah, they're not getting there.
Nah,
Chet already quit on them. We'll get to that a little bit later.
I've been watching them the last 6 weeks, Bill.
hey, Keith, one final question I have for you, because I know you do follow college football, and I like to make fun of you about Pitt. But the semifinal game certainly didn't disappoint on Saturday. But
Monday.
Man, that bowl system is messed up, and there is big trouble. How is the NCAA going to fix this? NIL, transfer portal, throw away the bowl games. What are they going to do?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think they really have to rethink this. Well, first of all, whose idea it was that to allow you to leave a school and do the transfer portal before the bowl season started was crazy. And then you look at it now, and they devalued all the bowls, right? Look at it. You guys are Penn State fans. The Rose Bowl, I love the Rose Bowl because it was the Pac-12 or the Pac-10, the Big Ten. You know what I mean? Now it's these bowls don't even matter anymore. It's who do you want to go? Who do you want to play at? What do you want to do? So you look at this whole situation. You see what Florida State did. You see what all these other teams did. It's a problem right now. And it's not going to a place because you think that's going to prepare you for the NFL or as a good school. It's all about NIL deals nowadays. And I think there's going to be a lot of kids. We hear of the great athletes who get paid, but there's a lot of kids that go places and don't get the money that they expected to get or get in bad situations. And next thing you know, they're done. So yeah, it's a bad situation, but hey, I'm going to tell you this. The one thing that I am excited about college football, I'm not a Big Ten fan. I just never was because maybe the Pitt situation, right? But now I'm looking at Washington going to the Big Ten next year, and you're seeing what Michigan is doing. We know that Penn State is good, Ohio State, and you're bringing Oregon in there. I'm looking at the Big Ten now, and it might be better than the SEC when you look at the top tier teams there. So I don't know. I'm really looking forward to next year what the Big Ten is going to be able to do.
Yeah. And one final comment on that. I don't know what the number is now, but it's somewhere like 2,000 kids are in the portal.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's nowhere for all 2,000 to sit. The music's going to stop, and there's going to be a whole bunch of kids with no seats.
Yeah, exactly. And what I mean by that, you're right, and a lot of them are quarterbacks too. That's the crazy thing. A lot of them, they were saying, not all 2,000, but there was a lot of them who were quarterbacks going places. And you look at it and you say to yourself, come on, dude. If you couldn't start where you were at, why are you going to go somewhere else and do it? You know what I mean? And what I meant about the Big Ten, again, we all know that Alabama and Georgia are elite, but there are some other teams like Mississippi State, Mississippi, Tennessee, good programs. But when you bring in the Oregon and the Washingtons and you bring in these type of programs, I do feel like that the Big Ten is probably going to, if not next year, in a couple of years, is going to be the power conference of all of them. I just do. There's a lot of power coming.
Hey, Keith, before you go, I wanted to congratulate you again on getting this award. It'll be handed out on the 17th. And that's a great event, by the way, the Philadelphia Sports Writers Association banquet. They've been doing that for like 118 years or something like that. And I've been there for most of the last 15 years, I think. I've been about a dozen times. Always a great event. So I look forward to seeing you there. And again, congratulations in advance.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. I mean, more than people know. Like, last year I won the state award, and the year before that I won like a breaking news award by Associated Press. And this really means more to me than the other ones because it's my peers, and it really means the world to me, really.
Awesome.
Fantastic. So people can follow you at Pompey on sports, correct?
Pompey
at Pompey. At Pompey on Sixers. You can do that on Twitter or X. You can do it on Instagram, and you can go to my Facebook page, Sixers Insiders,
where you see a lot of Eagles bashing as well.
Well, Keith, we appreciate you joining us as always. Congratulations once again, and go Birds.
All right, not this weekend, but y'all can win
Thanks,
after
Keith.
that. Thank you.
Man.
Thanks, Keith. All right, Chet, let's give a shout out to all the shows at the Edge of Philly Sports Network this week. As always, the gang has all the bases covered. You can catch all the action on www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can also find our show on the Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel. Help us out, hitting those subscribe, follow, like buttons, and as always, share with your family and friends. As you can see, for Eagles pregame, halftime, post-game, there's a morning show, there's a lacrosse show on Sunday, loaded up every day of the week.
And hey, Bill, before we continue with another little plug, I want to mention something else too. Big Al Zafiri's got a birthday coming up tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, Thursday. So he is the Edge of Philly Sports main man, Big Al. And we say happy birthday to you, my friend.
Happy birthday, Al. Well, hey, Chet, speaking of going out and having a good time, I don't know if it's about birthdays, but heck, tell us what's going on at the Irish Rover Station House this week.
Well, new year, same great Irish Rover. I mean, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. As you know by now, the Irish Rover has Quizzo every Wednesday evening, dinner specials Thursday through Sunday, plus killer burger Thursdays. Ooh, that spicy shrimp mac and cheese as an appetizer. Sounds pretty good. They also have live music on Saturday nights at the Irish Rover on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne. This weekend, the tunes come courtesy Ashton John. And oh yeah, always 24 beers on tap at the Rover. I try to sample a different one every time I stop by. The Irish Rover is located again on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne, and you can get all the deets on what I just told you about and more on their website. That, of course, IrishRoverStationHouse.com.
Hey everybody, it's Willie Nile here, and you're listening to Chet and Bill on Philly Press Box Radio. You lucky people.
Hey, Chet, Joe throws up a question. I didn't mention this in the opening. What part of the house are you in tonight? I am in the Atlanta, Smyrna, Georgia Philly Press Box tonight, making the final leg of my 3-week trip. Next week, I'll be back in my hometown and my home spot, and everything's good. But I'm in the spare bedroom. As you can see, we got a little Joe DiMaggio and Mariano Rivera with us back there. So, yeah, we're in Georgia tonight.
I like Joe's profile pic, by the way, a little scrapple and pork roll. So that was pretty cool.
Right. Well, hey, Chet, the Flyers, as we said, finished up that long 5-game road trip last night. They took 12 days through Western Canada over the holidays, came away with 4 of the possible 10 points. A little disappointing there as it turned out the last couple of games they've lost. They're now in the 4th spot in the Metropolitan Division. They were in 3rd. It's still not a bad place for this team to be now that hockey starts for some fans.
Yeah, you wondered, how long they were going to able to keep up their winning ways, getting points almost every single game. And the West Coast trip is always a tough one, as you said, and they always seem to go over the Christmas, New Year's holiday. So it didn't go so well. Connor McDavid showed why he's considered the best player in the league in the Tuesday night game. I'm not giving up on them, certainly. I mean, nobody expected them to be even thinking about a potential playoff spot this year, but they are still very much in the running for one of those spots. But it gets tougher now once you get to the middle part of the season, and some players get hurt, other teams get a little better now that they've figured things out. So it's still a long way to go, but we'll see what happens January, February, March.
Yeah, and to go along with that, on the flip side, a lot of younger players are getting a lot of work. Hopefully they don't get tired, but they're definitely getting experience, and that can only help them down the stretch as well, I would think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be interesting, and I will start watching a little more. I've watched a few times already, so there's that.
Yeah, well, I was watching last night actually, and they were down 2-0 kind of early. They came back to 2-2, and then McDavid
I saw them tie it, and then very quickly they gave up that lead.
Yeah, McDavid took over the game, and that's why he is what he is. He's pretty good. So, well, looking forward to the Flyers as we get to the winter time and full winter, and hopefully good news as we go.
Hey, Bill, I got something people might be interested in.
Oh, hopefully it's not talking about more Sixers, because nobody's interested in that.
That is so not true. So not true. People love the Sixers. No, you may know what it is, but if not, here it is. I'm going to play it for you right now. This is indeed a random Chet segment. It's unfortunately the case every year. We have to say goodbye to scores of athletes and coaches that we had watched perform on fields or inside arenas or rinks over the past several decades, and that was certainly the case in 2023. We lost several dozen prominent folks from the sports world. The NHL lost a handful of memorable players, including one of the very best of all time, longtime Chicago Blackhawks great Bobby Hull, the Golden Jet. Also, Peter Klima, Henry Boucher, Gina Odchik, who spent parts of 2 seasons with the Flyers, and former Flyers goaltender Roman Cechmanek, who was just 52 when he died in November. From the basketball world, we said goodbye to longtime college hoops broadcaster Billy Packer. Players Walter Davis, Phil Sellers, Jumpin' Johnny Green. He played 14 seasons in the NBA, including a couple with the Sixers in the late 1960s. Eric Montross, who also made a pit stop with the 76ers, plus Chris Ford, who played his college ball at Villanova and then had a long NBA career as both a player and coach, including time as an interim coach with the 76ers. Legendary Louisville coach Denny Crum passed away. And, of course, we also lost another legendary coach, the great Bob Knight. You may have loved him, you may have hated him, but he was certainly one to remember, Bobby Knight. Plus, we lost terrific New York Knicks center Willis Reed, who led the Knicks to their last 2 NBA titles in 1969 and 73. And Philadelphia fans know that we, less than a month ago, said goodbye to the great George McGinnis, a Sixers forward for 3 seasons in the mid to late 1970s. Oh, it wasn't just the 4 major sports that lost memorable names. The wrestling world bade farewell to Terry Funk, the Iron Sheik, Jay Briscoe, Bray Wyatt, and superstar Billy Graham. Daredevil Robbie Knievel was known for his death-defying stunts, but he couldn't overcome pancreatic cancer and died last January at the age of 60. And then just last week, we lost NASCAR legend Cale Yarborough. Major League Baseball certainly suffered a huge share of losses. The names included Sal Bando, Jesus Salou, Joe Pepitone, Mike Shannon, sluggers Nate Colbert and Frank Howard, Roger Craig, and baseball's last great knuckleballer Tim Wakefield, plus 6-time All-Star Vida Blue. Septuagenarian Philly fans will remember the name Frank Thomas, who played a season and a half with the Phils, 1964 and part of 65, but he was waived after getting into a fight with young Phil slugger Richie Dick Allen. Thomas died last January at the age of 93. Among other former Phils that left us last year, shortstop Dick Grote, who played several years for the Pirates as well, reliever Willie Hernandez, who after being traded to Detroit in the spring of 1984, ended up winning both the Cy Young Award and AL MVP as a Tiger that season. Pat Corrales managed the Phillies in 1982 and half of 83. You may remember he was fired while the Phils were in first place. And Tim McCarver passed last February. McCarver not only had a long playing career, very long, he was Steve Carlton's personal catcher for a time. He was also a respected broadcaster for many years. Perhaps the biggest name, though, of baseball greats who left us over the last year would be the guy considered by many to be the greatest defensive third baseman ever, Baltimore Orioles legend Brooks Robinson. 23 seasons with the O's, an 18-time All-Star, and 16 Gold Gloves. Wow. The list of former football players and coaches that left us over the course of the year is always a very lengthy one, it seems. Bigger rosters and such a demanding sport. You'll remember most of these names, certainly. Bobby Beathard, Gil Brandt, Vince Tobin, longtime NFL head of officiating, and Philadelphia native Art McNally. Charles White, that nasty Conrad Dobler, kicker Jim Turner, quarterback Joe Kapp, John Brockington, receivers Homer Jones, Otis Taylor, and Mike Williams, and tight ends Russ Francis and Philadelphia-born Frank Wycheck, plus former Eagles linebacker Frank LeMaster. Now, the even bigger names from football that we lost, well, longtime Vikings head coach Bud Grant, who died last March at age 95. You may not know this, but Grant played 2 seasons for the Eagles in the early 1950s, the first as a defensive end, the second as a wide receiver. No kidding. When you think of great NFL linebackers, well, this Hall of Famer is certainly in everybody's top 10, maybe even top 5. Chicago Bears great Dick Butkus, who left us in November at the age of 80. We also lost former Eagles and Rams linebacker Maxie Bond, who helped the Birds win the NFL championship in 1960. And speaking of Eagles greats, Bob Boomer Brown died last June at the age of 81. The Hall of Fame offensive tackle was a first-team All-Pro 5 times, including 3 years as an Eagle. There's one name I didn't mention yet, probably the very biggest name the sports world lost in 2023, the great Jim Brown, who played his 9-year NFL career with the old Cleveland Browns, leading the league in rushing in 8 of those seasons, and still today is considered by many to be the very best running back ever. He was also an actor, and in the decades that followed, a prominent civil rights activist. Rest in peace, all the players and coaches, broadcasters, etc., that we lost in 2023, and thanks for the memories.
Chad, every year you do that, and every year I like it, every year I hate it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because that list, you remember obviously all of them, but sure, you don't remember some of the lesser guys. Then you hear their names again. Man, I remember him when I was a kid. I remember him playing for who, and and that was a long list, by the way.
A lot of names, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And Bill, there's one other one. I did not include this guy in the random Chet piece, but we should also mention this guy. We lost our friend John Roberts last August. JR was a longtime listener of Philly Press Box Radio, who sometimes gave us a hard time about stuff, but who also did plenty to spread the word about us and help us out. So, Big John, we miss you, pal.
That's right. Good catch right there, too. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on. Good stuff. And hey, while we're at it, take a quick break and tell us what's going on with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia, since there's no more Eagles games at home, it doesn't look like. Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgates.
Yeah, Cavs Philly Tailgates has been cooking up a terrific catering business for more than 30 years now, known best for their tailgate parties. Cavs is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgates, Jack Daniel's Great American Tailgate Party Contest, and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs also does corporate events and parties, you name it. Now, as for upcoming events, well, let's see. Now, on the menu, it said Eagles versus NFC playoff opponent. Doesn't look like that's going to happen in Philadelphia, barring some miracle. But they do have Philly's opening day tailgate on the schedule for March 28th and a Kenny Chesney tailgate on June 8th. So that'll be a whole lot of fun. Order your tickets via the website, phillytailgates.com. Check the site. And if you have questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. And I think you know by now that Cav also works with Vince at Philly Sports Trips. They are the folks to use for all the Eagles road games and more. And there's all sorts of things going on there, flyers and union trips, Philly spring training excursions. Check out all the details on those trips and more at phillysportstrips.com.
Well, hey, Chet, let's get back to the Eagles. I know you, like others, extremely upset, downright mad, miserable, whatever words you want to throw out there. It's already Wednesday, and people still aren't feeling any better than they did on Sunday afternoon with what went down on Sunday. But I'm going to make a full confession. As you know, I was at the Raiders-Colts game. I didn't see the game. My phone, I was following it. My phone was blowing up, many texts and all that. But what I did get to do, I didn't see it on TV, but I did get to watch the coaches tape of that game. So there's plenty to talk about whenever you're ready.
Well, you're probably better off not having seen that second half as it happened, Bill, because I almost threw some stuff at the TV. As I said on the little show promo on Tuesday, it was, in my view, one of the worst regular season losses in quite a while for the Eagles in terms of what was at stake and how they just, threw that opportunity away. Lots of blame to go around from the head coach to several players, many of them on defense, to the offensive play calling on that fourth quarter drive that netted them only a field goal when we all knew that they had to score a touchdown because the defense can't frickin' stop anybody anymore. So, yeah, they had to settle for a field goal after some just horrible plays inside the red zone. That was just so frustrating. The whole second half of the game, especially when the Eagles defense was out there, because they made Arizona, which is not a good offensive team, look like a juggernaut.
Yeah. Well, and I agree, but I'm going to go through. I've got 6 items. I'm going to just kind of throw at you, and then we'll, without going too crazy into details, because there's a lot of details to cover here. But we'll try to keep it basic to start with, and then we can dive in. We've got a few extra minutes here, because obviously everybody's blaming the coordinators for this game. Maybe I could shed some light. All right, so let's go with this. Biggest thing on defense, Chet, is you got to be disciplined, right? You got to play disciplined, gap control defense. It's the key to the game of football on the defensive side. Everybody's got a gap. Everybody's got a responsibility. The Eagles did a terrible job at it. They did a terrible job up front. Carter, Davis, they don't penetrate. Chet, there was actually one play early second quarter where Cox was in the game with Davis, I believe it was. Cox is out of his stance and one step across the line of scrimmage, and Davis still has his hand on the ground. The other thing, those guys early in the year were getting a lot of penetration and a lot of pass rush because they were man-to-man, Well, the league adjusts. Now what they're doing is they're setting up 3 men, the 2 guards in the center, to block 2. In pass rush, put the wings out there, the edges, to go one-on-one with the tackles. There's no blitzing. So now you got a problem because you can't get to the quarterback. The other thing is the quarterback is getting rid of the ball quick, which he's supposed to. And here's a big problem. Besides the gap control is number 1. But the Eagles played so soft on the corners the whole entire game. 8 to 10 yards off the ball. The 6-7 yard catch and throw, there's not going to be pressure on the quarterback because all he's doing is getting it and throwing it. And then they catch it at 6, then they gain 2 or 3. It's an 8-10 yard play every time. Now, again, that could be coach's philosophy. I don't know. We don't know their game plan, but keep everything in front of you. Don't get beat deep. Well, how many times you watch a game and say, sooner or later, somebody's going to jump that ball and jump that route and pick it? You don't see that with the Eagles because there's way too much room out there. So there was actually one play. The ball was on about the 30-yard line. Blankenship is actually 3 yards deep in the end zone. Well, what is that going to do you? The other thing I wanted to point out about gap control, Chet, is there's 3 different plays. The defensive tackle is getting double teamed. He's not able to get off the double team, so he's getting pushed. Leonard, the first time he makes a beeline to the hole, to his gap where he's supposed to be to the ball carrier, he gets caught up in the traffic of his own player. He can't get there, and they get a gain. The next time they do the same thing, Leonard says, I'm going to beat him to the ball this time. I'm going to go inside. He goes inside, runner goes outside. because of the traffic, his own men's traffic. The third time did the exact same thing. His own traffic got in the way. He tried to go over the top, go around, and the runner cut back. It's because there's no gap control. And Leonard was in the right place to make the play all three times, and his own guy basically kept him from making the play.
I'll just say that Davis and Carter have been almost invisible the last few weeks. Maybe Carter's hit a rookie wall, but Davis, who was so good early in the season, as was Carter, just looks tired and worn out.
Well, they're catchers. They're playing as catchers. They're not playing as penetrators. They're not in there making moves, swim moves, doing things. They're catching, trying to, and now one of them's getting double teamed. Like I said, they're double teaming to the play side, and then they've got a good angle on the other guy. So the offenses have adjusted. The Eagles have not adjusted. The other thing I want to point out too, the Eagles' defensive line and linebackers very vanilla. When they do blitz, it's straight ahead. They blitzed Morrow a couple times. Well, he blitzes right into the uncovered guard. Well, so it's a one-on-one block with a guard and a linebacker. You're not getting to the quarterback that way. No stunts, very little stunning, pretty vanilla there. There's one other thing. Oh, the other thing I wanted to point out, and again, I don't know if this is credit to the coaches or they just were out of options. They played a 4-man front, a 5-man front. They blitzed. They zone blitzed. They ran nickel packages, dime packages, cover 3, cover 2. They did everything in this game. None of them had much results. So you can look at it this way. They actually had, there's a play, I don't know if you saw this on the TV. They had Morrow lined up as the edge rusher on the left and Reddick playing middle linebacker. They had Brandon Graham playing right defensive end, dropping in pass coverage. They tried all kinds of stuff. Possibly, flip side is, do you just do a couple things and do them really well? Or do you try anything and hope it works?
Well, not much worked on Sunday, especially in the second half. For the game, they were out-yarded, 449 yards to 275. Arizona had ball control just about 2/3 of the game. The Cardinals ran 36 second-half plays and got first downs on 18 of them. That is almost impossible. That's half of the plays they got a first down on.
Well, and it's not really impossible when you just think about the things I just told you. You're giving them 6 or 7 yard catches. That makes that's easy, and it's just throw and catch. There wasn't any real difficulty to them. The one other point I want to make too, Brown and Blankenship and Leonard being 3 that I'll call out. Those guys are like missiles flying around. The problem is we always talk about controlled aggression when we're coaching, controlled aggression. Well, these guys are out of control aggression. They're flying around trying to make plays, but when they do, they're taking the wrong angles. They're not getting to the right places. They're hustling. They're playing their tails off, but they're not in the right place. You're not breaking down to make tackles, and that's why you see all 3 of them miss tackles that led to touchdowns because they were there. They just didn't do the fundamental things right. And, and of all the things that I said here, my observations, every bit of it's fixable. It's not whether they can or not. You instead of playing 9 yards off the receiver, play 5 yards. Maybe you get beat deep here and there, but don't let them play 6-yard pitch and catch. Heck, me and you can do that.
Bill, we knew going into the season that there might be problems with the linebacking situation and the secondary, but we thought the front 7 or the front 4 and all the guys that they mixed in there were going to be great. And they were the first 5 or 6 weeks. They were number 1 in the league against the run. You couldn't run on this team. Well, over the last 6 games, look what's happened. I heard on the radio that over these last 6 games, they are 31st in the league in rushing defense. I don't know what the hell happened. We mentioned Davis and Carter. Some of the other guys have dropped off a little bit as well. Just awful. And regarding the penultimate Eagles possession that ended with those awful couple of plays inside the red zone, man, the 2 quarterback draws that didn't work out. Did you hear Merrill and Mike? Well, you will right now. Merrill and Mike on WIP.
Hurts takes it,
fakes. He's going to run again. Now he falls down inside the 30. I don't know what was called there.
Whatever,
why?
Yeah, whatever it was called, it doesn't work. They're going to call a timeout here. And they're going to hear it from the fans.
Well, there is definite confusion. There is no question about that. These last two plays have been inexplicable.
Audio courtesy WIP. And Bill, that was before the 3rd and 20 screen pass that went for what, 3 yards? Just crazy.
Yeah, and don't get lost in that Jordan Mailata got a holding call.
He did, which is what set them back. Yeah, and he admitted that. You can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, and again, that's a fixable thing. You just can't make those plays. You can't make those mistakes. And, you know, I hate to say you clean them up because we're running out of time to clean them up. But there's nothing that we've talked about here that isn't fixable, just whether they have the ability to do it.
Speaking of running out of time, Bill, that's what we're doing.
Yes, we are. So let's get to our predictions. Good Eagles talk. I like that. I loved watching that coach's film. It's fantastic. One other comment I'll make, Chet. It's funny being in Indianapolis this weekend. You know, the Colts are 9-7. They're playing for a playoff berth this week if they win. Rookie coach, backup quarterback since week 5, and that Gardner Minshew. The people are ecstatic in Indianapolis about what's going on. The Eagles are 11-5. Everybody wants to jump off the bridge. They suck. You know, the coaches suck. Everybody sucks. It's just being in two different places and looking at two different scenarios.
When you start 10-1 with a handful of those games kind of iffy, and then lose 4 out of 5, that's why. And you mentioned Gardner Minshew. How about him and Joe Flacco both heading to the playoffs, perhaps? Yeah, unbelievable.
How about that? All right, let's get to our prediction week. Man, I'm glad this is over. We're gonna start next week with playoffs and everybody. Hey, just like
no. We continued the records into the playoffs. That's how we did it the last 2 years. Oh yeah,
we're not going to do it that way. All you got to do is get to the dance, and everybody's 0-0.
Okay, whatever.
So Chet, Bob Patron Jr., boop to his friends, and I picked winners in the NFC East games. We had a couple. How did we do in Week 17? And we already know the current standing, so it's gloat Chet time.
Well, just for the heck of it, I put a little graphic of how we did last week, and not just because I did the best at 4-1, but there's the standings. I'm in first place, 4 games up on Boop, and 5 up on you now, Bill. So you can check me on that. That's the official standings. Let's get to our pick'em games this week.
Let's do it. We have Chicago at Green Bay. The Packers are -3. Who you got?
Oh, wait, I've got to find my boot picks.
By the way, we have about 10, I think, at the last count, 10 quarterbacks not playing this week.
Yeah, I know. That's what makes it a little tricky. All right. What do we say? Bears, Packers first?
Bears, Packers.
All right. Boop says, as October dawned, not a lot of people foresaw 0-4 Chicago rallying to 7-9. Too little, too late. He is taking the Packers. I'm taking Green Bay as well.
I'm taking the Bears.
Whoa.
Why not? Why not? Okay. Atlanta at New Orleans. The Saints are -3. Somebody got to win this game to stay in the hunt with Tampa Bay if Tampa Bay loses.
Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, whoever wins this game, if Tampa Bay were to lose, would win the division, the Falcons or Saints. Okay. Correct. All right. Boop says
we have play the Eagles probably.
Yeah, very likely. We have a live parlay on 5 teams winning division titles, including New Orleans. Sadly, it also includes the Eagles. Yeah, well, that ain't happening. Boop is picking the Saints. I am also taking New Orleans just because they're home.
Yeah, me too, because they're home. Really good game. Could have been a really good game. Might still be. Buffalo at Miami. The Bills -3. Interesting that the Bills are favored in this game. It shakes up them AFC standings if the Bills win.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Boop says Josh Allen has been in late and postseason pressure cookers before. Tua Tagovailoa has not. He's taking the Bills. I'm taking the Bills too. I'm not sold on the Dolphins still. So yeah, Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm going to go Buffalo too in this game. We'll see. I like the way Buffalo is playing. Dallas at Washington. Dallas -13. I don't think there's much to talk about here. Except that Dallas is on the road. Who knows?
We need a miracle, Bill, if we're Eagles fans who want to see the Eagles win the division. Boop says the last time the Cowboys were 13-point favorites in Washington, October of 1995, by the way. Gus Frerotte and Terry Allen teamed up to deal the boys a 27-23 loss. Maybe we'll get a repeat, but he says, unfortunately, both are doubtful for this Sunday's game, Gus Frerotte and Terry Allen. He is taking Dallas. I'm taking Dallas as well, unfortunately.
Kind of have to.
Yep.
All right, Eagles visit the Giants. Eagles -5. Don't know what the Giants are going to do, but all indications are the Eagles are going all in to play everybody. Devontae Smith is on the injured list today. Whether he stays there or not, we'll see how that goes.
All right, Boop says, hey, lots of people look forward to a trip down south in mid-January. I assume Boop is referring to the Eagles, maybe going to Tampa or Atlanta or New Orleans. He's taking the Eagles. Bill, here's my thinking on this. The Eagles are going to see at halftime that Dallas is pounding Washington. The Eagles are going to have a tough time anyway. I am taking the New York Football Giants to beat the Eagles on Sunday. Sorry.
Yeah, nah, that ain't happening. Eagles are they're gonna right this ship. They're gonna go into the playoffs 0-0.
You've been saying that for a while, Bill.
Yeah, well, I still see it, and I'm sticking with it. Giants stink.
Eagles stink too lately, pal.
Yeah, I hear you.
Margin
All right,
victory pool. I know you want to see this.
This is
just amazing. Again, I hate patting myself on the back, but this past week I picked Baltimore for the first time. They won by 37. I have made 15 correct picks in the 17 weeks, totaling 286 points, which means I'm winning these games that I picked by an average of 19 points. That's pretty amazing. And I'm not just saying that because it's me. If you were doing that, I'd say it was amazing too, Bill, but you're not. It's me. So there you go.
And what's crazy is games in the NFL don't have 19-point spreads, and you've averaged it over 17 weeks.
I know. I've won by 27, 32, 20, 37. I don't believe it, but hey, it's true. Anyway, this week, Boop is taking the LA Raiders over whoever the hell they're playing, and I am taking Green Bay.
Okay. I'm going to take Tampa Bay over Carolina. We'll see. Baker Mayfield may not play in that game, which means Tampa may not win that game without him. So we'll see. Yeah, he's up in the air. So we'll see. Mm-hmm. All right. Fresh slate next week. We'll be back with a vengeance, me and Boop. We have to surrender kind of at this point with you, but it was been fun. All right. Another great guest tonight at KEITH Pompey. Congratulations again to Keith. Who's coming to Philly Press Box Radio next week?
Next week, Bill, we are bringing back a terrific football writer who joined us just about this time a year ago. He writes these days for the new sports entity in the area, PHLY. Used to be with The Athletic, but now he's with PHLY, and it is Eagles beat writer Zach Berman. So he's going to help us preview the Eagles postseason. Can they get it together in the playoffs? You think they can? I'm not so sure. Also on the show now, unless something happens, this guy is going to be back. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Bob Vitrone Jr. joining us in the second half of the show. Ladies, there you go. I know you love him. Boop. All right.
All right. Hey, Chet, we're out of time, but I do want to ask you, the college football playoffs, the 4 teams put on a show, great football. Both games ended up on the last play. So I'm just going to put you on a hot seat if you're paying enough attention. Michigan and Washington, Monday night, who are you picking?
I'm going to take Washington. I actually watched second half pretty much of the first game the other night and a good chunk of the second game. So, good stuff. Some great quarterbacks, some good coaching, which we could use right now. I'm taking Washington to win it all.
Yeah, I am too, believe it or not. I've been on Washington for a couple months, actually, and I'm going to stick with them. I think it's going to be a tremendous football game. I'll be disappointed if it's not. I think it's going to be really, really good. We'll talk more about all that bowl disaster stuff a little bit later. But let's go ahead. Let's wrap it up. Thank our special guest, KEITH Pompey, our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgates, PPCC 118 Raz Road. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll join Philly Press Box next Wednesday, January 10th at 7 p.m. See us live on Facebook or on Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel. Listen on Google Podcasts as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans, and go Birds.
Happy trails to you till we meet again.